Welcome to another episode of The FWOT Show on the Coil Entertainment Network, Happy Hour Network, VillageConnectionRadio.com, iTunes, the Google Play Store, and wherever else you happen to find the show. I'm Rob Steele, that's Jesus Jones in the background, and this is the show that lets you know that it's not just you. The entire United States has actually lost its damn mind. Need evidence? There is a small group of people in Fort Collins, Colorado, who believe quite thoroughly that the Earth is still flat and gravity doesn't exist. How they can believe that in this day and age? Not a clue. Their theory is that the uber elite heads of governments, universities, and major corporations know the truth, but are perpetuating the lie to the entire planet so they can create a master race and a slave race. And those of us who think the world is round, because it is, we're the slave race. Now, I think that the uber elite heads of government are probably trying to do that anyway, but that doesn't mean the Earth is flat and gravity doesn't exist. Sorry, guys. But they also say one other very important and erroneous thing. They claim they're being persecuted. Things are going so wrong for us. Well, the reason things are going so wrong for you is, in this instance, you are wrong. The Earth is round, and gravity is a thing. I would also like to point out, you're not being persecuted, you're being ridiculed. There's a difference. Find a dictionary, look it up. I'm going to channel my inner Mortal Kombat movie and let you know that it has begun. 18 states and Washington, D.C. have decided to sue Education Secretary Betsy DeVos because there was a rule that was supposed to start on July 1st, meant to help people who have the outrageously rated student loans. And she's decided, nah, we don't need that. I don't care if you are unemployed and have no money, you'll pay back this loan and you'll pay it back now. Well, yeah, you can't extract money from places that don't have money. It's just a thing. You can't do it. If it's not there, you can't have it. But she's decided, we don't need that rule anyway. And it just goes along with everything else that this administration seems to be wanting to do. Even if some of the members of this administration and the party are kind of jumping ship, and I don't care about Joe Scarborough. I'm talking about people like Marco Rubio, who said this past Sunday that the idea that Donald Trump has, I almost said the P word, to make an impenetrable cybersecurity unit by teaming up with Russian President Vladimir Putin, even Marco Rubio says that that is a hideous idea. Oh, you mean the guy who just hacked our election system? Yes, let's team up with him to make sure that no one can hack our election system. That's like, oh, you're the guy who just robbed our bank? I'm going to hire you to be our security guard. It doesn't make sense at all. And Donnie isn't helping. He tried to put out a campaign this week of send me your Obamacare horror stories. Now, I'm sure there are actually some, but the stories they got were things like from, let's say, a woman named Alexa Harlow Griffith. And I'll quote from her Facebook page. Yeah, it's not a tweet. It counts. Quote, my insurance could not deny me coverage because of my pre-existing condition. It was horrible. My daughter was able to stay on my insurance when she went to grad school. How evil. My clients were no longer denied mental health care because of previous treatments. Horrific. Uh-oh. Did this plan blow up in their face like a bad idea from a Scooby-Doo episode? Yes. Yes, it did, actually. But that hasn't stopped Donnie from saying, yes, we need to ditch Obamacare because we don't have the money for it. However, we do seem to have enough money to throw another $406 billion, that's with a B as in boy, $406 billion at the F-35 project, because Lockheed Martin needs more money for an extensive weapons overhaul for the airplane that we don't need. I love our armed forces, I really do, but we don't need this plane. No one can match us now. And if you take this $405 billion and apply it to all the other things that we do need, like healthcare or education or an infrastructure, we can have them. Then you can have your airplane. It's kind of like asking for ice cream before dinner. Your parents are never going to go for that. Eat the dinner first. Then you can have your ice cream. That's the way things work. Don doesn't know how things work, like when he sent Ivanka to represent him during the meetings at the G20 summit. She's not qualified. She makes purses for a living. How is she possibly qualified to sit at the G20 summit with the leaders of the world? She's not. Of course, Donnie decided to tweet an explanation. He said, and I'll attempt to quote, "If Chelsea Clinton were asked to hold a seat for her mother, as her mother gave our country away, the fake news would say Chelsea for president." There's a few things about that are just a little bit wrong. I mean, if you look at her qualifications, she does have a doctorate from Oxford in international relations. That actually qualifies her to sit at the table. Don, you're not qualified to sit at the table, and your daughter who designs purses for a living sure as hell isn't either. But there was another thing in that tweet. As her mother gave away our country. Now, Hillary's not going to be giving away the country, but this kind of implies that while you were gone and your daughter was sitting at the table, Don, were you giving away our country? And if so, what language are we supposed to start speaking? Because it's a bit late in the game for me to, pick up on a new language. Although I do know who's not going to take us over. There was a survey that came out from the Pew Research Center that shows how much confidence people have in the United States president. And this does not look good. Germany used to have an 86% confidence rating in President Obama. Their confidence in Trump? 11%. France? 14%. The UK? 22%. Poland? 23%. South Korea? 17%. They don't have confidence in you, Donnie. And you know who else doesn't have confidence in you? And this should be scary. Mike Pence. That's right. Mike, your Vice President, Pence, who said in regards to the whole Donnie Trump Jr. meeting with Russia to collude with them against everybody to make sure that Don got elected instead of anybody else. Mark Lauder, the press secretary, released a statement on behalf of the vice president, if you want to call him that. It said, quote, "The vice president is working every day to advance the president's agenda." Not a good thing. He was not aware of the meeting. He is also not focused on stories about the campaign, especially those pertaining to the time before he joined the campaign. Meaning, Don did what? Really? I wasn't here yet. You can't blame me for that, because I had nothing to do with it. Look, it's the first rat jumping off the ship. Unless you want to count Marco. Rubio. And most of the Republican Party. And the people on the planet. And I'm pretty sure even the people on Trump's home planet. Although while we're talking about Trump, let's go to consecutive Facebook postings, because this popped up this week and it made me think a little bit. The first posting I saw was a Cobb County, Georgia officer arrested 3 people thinking they were on marijuana, and they weren't, and absolutely ruined their lives after he did this. Because he's a well-trained officer and he can spot someone who's on marijuana even when they're not, apparently. And this was followed by another posting about Trump. And I was thinking, maybe we could transfer this officer to D.C. and he could pull over Trump. Because if he thought these sober people were smoking pot, he's going to look at Trump and go, Oh, dude, I don't know what you are on, but you think that could happen? Can we do that? Could that be a thing? But while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and throw another wonderful consecutive headline thing that should never have happened because somebody doesn't know how to edit. Consecutive headlines on a major news network that I'm going to leave anonymous because normally they're good, but today, not so much. The consecutive headlines. Trump says, "My son is a high-quality person. I applaud his transparency." This was followed immediately by GOP strategist on Trump Jr. "My God, this kid was dropped on his head as a child." And you know what? Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. In other political news, Chris Christie, who I mentioned last week as, hey, can you guys in New Jersey vote this guy out? You know what? I didn't need to, and I didn't realize this. He's on a schedule, so he's going to be out of office at the end of the year, which is spectacular, and maybe he'll just go the f*** away. But he has said that he might have a new career lined up as a sports talk radio host. The problem with this is he guest slotted on WFAN in New York this past week and got into a massive argument with a fan. And you don't do that. So I'm not sure exactly if this career is right for you either. I say either because the one you have now, it's not right for you. You should leave. Just like, let's say, Trey Gowdy. You remember Trey Gowdy, the guy who was going after Hillary Clinton because of her emails? And damn it, she did everything we did in the Republican Party, and she shouldn't be allowed to get away with that. I mean, that was the argument anyway. So, Trey Gowdy, it turns out, the CIA released a statement saying, look at all these altered documents made by Trey Gowdy to make Hillary Clinton look guilty. Do the words jail time hold any meaning for you, Trey? Because you might have some soon. And just for fun, House Speaker Paul Ryan showed up on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to read some of Donald Trump's tweets.
The fake news media has never been so wrong or so dirty.
Oh, that wasn't Paul Ryan. I'm sorry, that actually was Andy Serkis, who actually did play Gollum. Paul Ryan just looks like him. No, Paul Ryan said this week, what did he say? Oh yeah, he said he's not going to do any public town hall meetings because he's concerned about possible protests that might show up. Well, Paul, just a thought here, but if you didn't spend so much time trying to break the planet, we wouldn't have to protest you now, would we? Slightly different segment to end the show with. Let's go through a bunch of news bits. I've got a bunch of little things, but very little of it actually goes together. So if you're driving while you're listening, brace yourself. We're going to have a few sharp turns ahead. Let's start off with Verizon, who had millions of customer service records exposed on an Israeli website this week, and it includes phone numbers and account PINs. Why? Well, they were hacked because they were trying to keep their information on an unsecure server, unlike, Hillary's, which were actually secure. But that's not all. Let's go through some stuff. How about the thing that didn't make Tuesday's special edition? Because if you didn't see Tuesday's special edition of the FWOT show, the whole big religion thing, go to thefwotshow.com. There's the video for it. Yes, there's video, there's motion and everything. It's on the front page of the website. But something that didn't make this was a story that came out about the Vatican police, for there is such a thing. They raided what they're calling a drug-fueled gay sex orgy at the home of Francisco Cardinal, Coco Palmero. At least that's what it looks like to me. Religion. What a concept. Of course, there are a lot of people, like I said in Tuesday's show, who think that religion somehow says thou shalt not have Planned Parenthood. Because that's in the Bible somewhere? Really? You know what? Show me where. In the meantime, I'm going to point you at this story about Texas, who defunded their Planned Parenthood and now are seeing more teen abortions and unwanted pregnancies now more than ever in the history of the state. Who knew that getting rid of all the birth control would do that, except everyone who paid attention? And Texas was obviously too occupied with their failing cowboy team to pay attention. Oregon, however, might have been listening to the show a few weeks ago when I mentioned something about Portugal decriminalizing the possession of any recreational drug. They're doing spectacular now. So Oregon has put together a bill decriminalizing heroin and cocaine and meth, hoping to curb the concept of mass incarceration. The idea is that if you get busted with these drugs, you don't go to jail, you don't go to prison for years, you go to rehab. Isn't that a much better idea? Make the people better, save the prison system for the people who, I don't know, rape and pillage and murder and stuff. Or does that just make too much sense? Of course, it's not being reported that way. It's being reported as, oh no, that's a horrible thing that's going to happen in Oregon. Except it isn't. It works. See what happened in Portugal? And while we're on that side of the planet, yes, it is round, let's go to Wimbledon for just a moment. I personally don't care about tennis. I don't care that number 1 seed Andy Murray was knocked out in the quarterfinals. What did amuse me about this, and I like Andy Murray for this, was during the press conference after his loss, a reporter said that Andy Murray is the first U.S. player to reach the semifinals at the All-England Club since 2009. And Andy Murray said, male player, because women play tennis too. For example, since 2009, let's see, who was it that made it to the, Serena Williams has done it 12 times since 2009. Good reporting. Well done. Morons. And speaking of morons, how about Jeff Sessions? I told you, this is News Bits. We're going wherever it happens to take us. Jeff Sessions met with an anti-LGBT hate group called the Alliance Defending Freedom. Now, why did he meet with them? It's being covered up. And they'll admit that. Everyone is admitting this. The Department of Justice is not releasing his remarks. Why? Well, I'm trying to figure out why he went there in the first place. It can't be good, because this is Jeff Sessions. Was he going to show up and say, you know, you should allow LGBT people to just exist and be happy in society? Except, I can't see that happening. I will, however, point out a magnificent quote. It's actually 2 quotes. It happened on an Australian TV show, and I would give you the names of the people involved, but they didn't show up on the screen, and I just don't know who they are. One guy was saying that the Bible was so far against gay marriage, and gay marriage laws affect everyone in the country. To which the host replied, well, it really only affects the gay ones. That's a hint, everybody. Gay marriage laws don't affect anybody unless you're gay. Just saying. And just to throw this out, and again, sharp turn to the left, I received another email this week from Jeff Dunham.
That's good, that's good, that's good!
The comedian, ventriloquist, you know him. I have received this same email every day for the past 2 weeks, and it says, he's on the Food Channel now. Tune in to watch him. Jeff, I really enjoy your stand-up stuff. I'll admit that I prefer your old stand-up stuff to your new stand-up stuff, but that's just me. I don't give a f*** that you're on the Food Channel now. Stop emailing me. I have filled out the little form on your website that says, stop emailing me, and you're still emailing me. Knock it off. Now, I was going to wrap up the show with that one, but then this happened. A Tory MP in the United Kingdom, Anne Marie Morris, said the following.
And then we get to the real woodpile.
Now, the word that was beeped is the N-word. That evil one referring to people with skin who's considerably darker than mine. I'm not going to say it. I don't think it should be used ever, even by them, hint, hint. Now, what I am going to say is, what the hell does that phrase mean? I have never heard that before. If you can explain to me what that means, contact me, send me an email, rob@thefwotshow.com, or contact me through the website, thefwotshow.com, because there's buttons for Facebook and Twitter. While you're there, go ahead and subscribe to the show on iTunes or the Google Play Store. There's buttons there for that. That's what they're there for. Go ahead and go to the FWOT shop as well. Get a hat or a t-shirt or a coffee mug. It all supports the show. And while you're on the site, also watch the video that came out this past Tuesday. It's something I think everybody needs to see because it's actually kind of a big deal. It's the religion episode. Watch it. It's good for you. Seriously. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with a little safety advice for you on the computer, because a lot of things have made the rounds this week about don't friend this person on Facebook, it'll hack your account to take all your information. The information I want to give you is, no, it won't. Don't worry about that. But be careful out there anyway, because it's still very, very weird.